Welcome to PoliticIt Talk, where we talk about political strategy. I'm Josh Light.
And I'm Sterling Morris.
And today we were going to talk about targeting from a poll, but we're going to move that podcast to next week. Instead, we're going to talk about Facebook and how to use Facebook in your political campaign.
Today we're going to talk about how, when, and why politicians should be active on Facebook.
That's right, Sterling, but before we start talking about that, we need to address this issue. You got to make sure that you have a strategy with your social media before you start posting anything, and that strategy has to align with your overall strategy of your campaign, who you're targeting, whatever you're trying to do in your campaign. You got to make sure that everything aligns in both the real world and the online world before you get going.
So the first technique that you need to consider when posting to Facebook is the question of when. When's the best time to post content? Once you define your strategy and your messaging and what type of message you want to share with your potential voters, your supporters, and others, determining when you post content to Facebook will have a large effect on how many people see your content. So based on some of the research we've seen, Friday is the busiest time of the week in terms of overall traffic on Facebook. Tuesday and Thursday are also good times during the week. But you also would like to keep in mind that's general numbers across the board on Facebook. Supporters of politicians might have slightly to largely different user patterns than the Facebook user base at large.
And that's really where analytics come into your campaign. Just like the Obama administration used analytics, they would test something in their campaign, and they would look at the data, and then they would change their strategy based on the feedback they had. That's what you have to do with your Facebook as well. You want to see what time of day people are active on your Facebook page specifically, because it's not going to be a standard number or standard day, because you are an individual person. And you want to figure out what time of day those people are online. There's actually software to look at this and that can tell you what time of day people are online, so that you can make sure that your content gets in front of those people, because you don't want to get in a situation where you're posting things on Facebook and no one is actually seeing it. But you need to understand that this is not going to be a static number. It's going to change. This week, people might be online a lot at, for instance, between 9 to 10 a.m. on your page. But next week, that could change. So you always want to be monitoring your analytics and taking that feedback and adjusting your strategy based on that feedback.
And PoliticIt Candidate has a tool that allows you to see when users are online. Right now, the tool allows you to see that for Twitter. And we're continuing to build additional tools to help you gain valuable insight on your social media presence. Generally speaking, Facebook sees the highest traffic rates from 9 to 12 a.m. and again from 6 to 9 p.m. But just like Josh said, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your audience and not the general Facebook audience as a whole.
So what do you post when you decide that you want to post some content on your Facebook page? Well, the king of content usually is photos. People will engage with photos a lot. They like photos. They like to share them. So getting a photo up is a very good post to throw up on your Facebook page. How many posts do you want to do every day? Well, usually about one post a day is a pretty good number, and you want to keep it to about 100 to 250 characters. And sometimes you want to ask for engagement, but you don't want to do it too much, because it can become offensive to your audience. What do I mean by ask for engagement? Maybe you ask your audience to like that picture, or to share it, or to comment. In the actual update that you throw up on your page, that would be what asking for engagement means.
So we're going to look at a good example of what Josh is talking about regarding engagement. Jim Matheson is a local politician in Utah. He's a congressman for District 4. Starting just this week, he's been a 10-year congressman in Utah. But all his posts, he's very good at sharing photos. We know that photos are king. They show up high in people's news feeds, and often. He asks for engagement, especially right here on his profile. He says all points of view are welcome, but comments must be civil. So he's basically opening up his feed to allow people to comment and engage. You can see that he doesn't have a bar right here where you can actually comment and make your own comments, and that's a little bit more restrictive than some politicians we've seen. But at some point, when you have 5,000 plus followers, it might be a wise move to allow them to comment on your post and kind of keep it at that. It's a little bit more manageable in that sense. He's a great example of a politician who manages his Facebook page quite well.
So here's one post that was pretty interesting that could see some improvement here. So he said, "My first order of legislative business for this new Congress is working with my Republican colleague, Mike Fitzpatrick, on bipartisan legislation to block any congressional pay raise." Well, there's a couple things he could have done to improve this post. It's a great post, especially for who he's targeting with his constituents. But what he could have done is he could have put an @ tag in front of Mike Fitzpatrick, and what that would do is it would actually create a link to his page, and then he could have also thrown a picture in there, and that would have increased his engagement. But as it is, he's gotten 220 people to like it. He's gotten several comments, and 18 people have shared that, so it's been a very successful post.
And engagement really comes down to something called EdgeRank on Facebook. EdgeRank is essentially an algorithm Facebook developed to determine which posts users on Facebook would find relevant. So some of the key ingredients that you want to remember when formulating posts that have a high EdgeRank and subsequently show up in a large number of your followers' feeds is that you include an image. Images, again, are king. They show up high because they have a high EdgeRank rating. You want to have a link in there to other pages, just like Josh mentioned. One other thing you want to consider is not using external tools to make posts to your Facebook feed. Twitter is a different story, but with Facebook, the EdgeRank doesn't put a lot of weight when external tools are used to post content.
One other thing in the EdgeRank algorithm that's important to mention is the time decay variable. Basically, what that means is that as your posts become older, their EdgeRank will actually go down. So newer content will have a higher EdgeRank relative to older content.
The whole idea is if you get a lot of people to comment, like, share, and engage with your posts, it improves your visibility. Okay, one final thing to consider when you're sharing content on your Facebook page is to make sure you understand Facebook's sharing guidelines. There are a few rules in there that people have been guilty of breaking, and subsequently their Facebook feeds have been shut down. It doesn't happen very often. It's not something to be overly concerned with, but it's nice to know what the rules are and to know if you're in compliance with them and to see how your competitors are doing regarding the rules.
And especially in regard to when you do any kind of contest or giveaway on your Facebook feed. I know a lot of politicians during the 2012 election that we worked with or that we knew, they would do contests on their page, and a lot of times the way that they did those contests actually violated the terms of use of Facebook, which could have had some really bad effects for their campaign had someone noticed. So just make sure that whoever's managing your social media takes care to read over these guidelines, and even campaign managers should probably be familiar with these guidelines to make sure that their social media managers are keeping to them, because you don't want to get in a situation where your Facebook page that you've spent all this money and time gathering this audience gets shut down or terminated permanently. So just keep that in mind and make sure to know that information.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions about this podcast, leave a comment in the comment section below, and we'll try our best to answer them. And we'll also cover any topics that you request by requesting in the comment section below.
And next week, we will be talking about targeting from a poll.
PoliticIt Talk is brought to you by PoliticIt. PoliticIt provides powerful real-time campaign analytics for politicians. Contact PoliticIt if you would like to be a beta tester.